Captain Jake Morrison walked slowly across the bridge of his ship. The UES Horizon had been traveling through space for 3 long years. Jake looked out at the stars and felt worried. Something was very wrong with the galaxy. Dr. Lisa Carter sat at her computer station. She was the ship's expert on alien life. Her job was to find and study new forms of life. But after 3 years of searching, she had found nothing alive, only empty cities and abandoned machines. "Captain," Lisa said, looking up from her screen, "I have finished checking the data from the last 5 star systems we visited. The same pattern keeps showing up everywhere we go." Jake turned to face her. "Tell me what you found, Doctor." Lisa pointed to the pictures on her screen. "Look at these buildings, Captain. They are huge and beautiful. The technology is far beyond anything we humans have ever built. But there is nobody inside them. No people, no aliens, nothing alive at all." Commander Alex Porter walked over to join them. He was in charge of the teams that went down to explore the planets. His face looked tired and confused. "Sir, my teams have been to dozens of worlds now. We keep finding the same thing. Great cities with no one living in them. Machines that still work but no one to operate them." Jake felt a chill run down his back. "How old are these abandoned places?" "That's the strangest part," Lisa answered. "Our tests show these cities were lived in just a few decades ago, maybe 50 years at most. This isn't ancient history, Captain. These civilizations were thriving when my grandfather was still alive." The 3 officers stood in silence for a moment. The thought was too scary to speak out loud. Entire civilizations with technology far superior to Earth's had simply vanished, not destroyed by war or disaster but abandoned as if everyone had just walked away and never came back. "There has to be an explanation," Alex said finally. "Whole species don't just disappear for no reason." Maria Rodriguez looked up from her communication station. She was responsible for listening to radio signals and trying to contact other life forms. "Captain, I might have something. I've been picking up very faint signals from the next star system. It's not much, but it's the first active transmission we've detected in months." Jake felt his heart beat faster. After years of silence, they had finally found signs of life. "Can you tell what kind of signal it is?" "It's definitely artificial, sir. Made by intelligent beings. But it's very weak, like they're trying to keep it quiet. I can't decode the language yet, but the pattern suggests it's some kind of communication between different locations." "Set course for that system," Jake ordered. "Maximum speed." The Horizon's engines hummed louder as the ship changed direction. Jake felt hopeful for the first time in months. Maybe they would finally get answers to the mystery that had been haunting them. 2 days later, they arrived at the edge of the star system. What they saw through the ship's telescopes made them all gasp in amazement. The system was full of life and activity. Huge space stations orbited the planets. Ships moved between the worlds. Cities covered entire continents. "Finally," Alex said with relief, "a living civilization." But their celebration was short-lived. Maria suddenly looked alarmed at her station. "Captain, something strange is happening. All the radio signals from the system just stopped. Everything went quiet the moment we arrived." Lisa checked her sensors. "The ships down there are changing course. They're all heading toward the planets. It looks like they're trying to hide." Jake couldn't believe what he was seeing. An entire star system was shutting down just because the Horizon had appeared. "Try to send them a peaceful message, Maria. Tell them we come in friendship." Maria worked at her controls for several minutes. "No response, sir. They're not even acknowledging our signals. It's like they don't want us to know they exist." Over the next few hours, they watched in amazement as the alien civilization made itself disappear. The space stations shut off their lights. The ships landed and didn't take off again. Even the cities reduced their energy output until they were barely visible. "Why would they hide from us?" Alex wondered aloud. "We're just one small ship. We couldn't threaten an entire star system even if we wanted to." Lisa had been studying the sensor readings carefully. "Captain, I think I know why they might be afraid. Look at these energy patterns. This civilization has technology that could easily destroy our ship with a single shot. They're not hiding because they fear we might hurt them. They're hiding because they fear something else." "Something else?" Jake asked. Something that our presence might bring, Lisa said quietly. Or something that our presence might wake up. That night, while most of the crew slept, Maria continued, listening to the weak signals still coming from the hidden civilization. She had been working on translating their language using the ship's computers. Finally, she made a breakthrough. She ran to find Jake in his quarters. "Captain, you need to hear this. I managed to decode part of their transmissions." Jake followed her back to the communication station. Maria played a recording of alien voices speaking in their own language, followed by the computer's translation. "Tsar, humans have come to our system," the translated voice said. "We must follow the ancient protocols. All surface activity must cease immediately. Send word to the other hidden colonies. Tell them the time we have feared for so long has finally arrived." Another voice answered. "How many human ships have we detected?" "Only one so far, but that is enough. Even a single human vessel changes everything. We must hope we can remain hidden until they leave our space. And if they don't leave?" There was a long pause before the first voice answered. "Then we must prepare for the return of the Devourers." Jake felt his blood turn cold. "The Devourers? What does that mean?" Maria shook her head. "I don't know, Captain, but whatever it is, these aliens are terrified of it. And somehow our being here increases the danger." Jake stared out at the hidden star system. Somewhere down there, an entire civilization was holding its breath, hoping the humans would go away. But why? What could humanity possibly do that would bring such fear to beings with technology far beyond their own? The mystery had grown deeper instead of clearer. Not only were civilizations abandoning their homes, but the living ones were hiding from humanity itself. Jake realized that the horizon wasn't just exploring empty space anymore. They were unwittingly part of something much larger and more dangerous than anyone on Earth could imagine. As he looked out at the stars, Jake wondered how many other civilizations were out there, watching from the shadows, waiting for the humans to leave. And what would happen when humanity's expansion into space continued? Would more star systems go dark? Would more civilizations hide? Most frightening of all was the question that kept echoing in his mind. Who or what were the Devourers, and why? Did humanity's presence in space make their return more likely? The galaxy suddenly felt much less empty than before. It was full of watchers, hiding in the darkness, united by their fear of what humanity might accidentally unleash upon them all. Captain Jake Morrison made a difficult decision. Instead of leaving the star system, he ordered the Horizon to stay hidden behind a large asteroid. They would watch and learn more about these mysterious aliens who feared humanity so much. "Turn off all unnecessary systems," Jake told his crew. "We need to make ourselves as invisible as possible. I want to know why an entire civilization is hiding from us." Dr. Lisa Carter worked day and night to intercept more alien communications. The signals were very weak because the aliens were trying to keep their messages secret. But Lisa was determined to understand what was happening. "Captain," Lisa said, after 2 days of hard work, "I've translated more of their language. These aliens call themselves the Veltar. They've been living in this star system for thousands of years." Commander Alex Porter looked up from his station. "What else did you learn about them?" "The Veltar are not primitive beings," Lisa explained. "Their technology is incredibly advanced. They have cities under the ground, ships that can travel faster than light, and weapons that could destroy entire planets, but they're all hiding like scared children." Jake felt confused. If they're so powerful, what could they possibly fear from us? We're just one small human ship. Maria Rodriguez had been listening to the alien radio signals for hours. She suddenly looked excited. "Captain, I think I found something important. The Veltar are not the only ones hiding. I'm picking up similar signals from other star systems, dozens of them." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "It looks like there's a whole network of hidden civilizations," Maria explained. "They're all talking to each other, sharing information about human movements through space. Every time a human ship enters a new area, they send warnings to other hidden colonies." Lisa checked her computer files. "That would explain all the abandoned cities we found. These civilizations didn't disappear. They went underground or moved to hidden bases. They're all still out there watching us from the shadows. Engineer Ben Parker had been quietly working on the ship's deep scanning equipment. He finally spoke up. "Captain, I've been using our sensors to look beneath the surfaces of the planets in this system. You're not going to believe what I found." Jake walked over to look at Ben's screen. The display showed underground structures that were enormous. Entire cities existed below the planet surfaces, connected by tunnels that stretched for hundreds of miles. "How many aliens are down there?" Jake asked. "Millions," Ben answered. "Maybe billions. This whole star system is full of life, but it's all hidden underground. They built these cities to hide from something, and now they're using them to hide from us." The crew of the Horizon realized they had stumbled upon something incredible. The galaxy wasn't empty at all. It was full of advanced civilizations that had chosen to hide rather than make contact with other species. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan was the ship's language expert. She had been working with Lisa to understand more of the Veltar communications. "Captain, I think I've made a breakthrough. I might be able to send a message to the Veltar in their own language." Jake thought carefully. "What would you say to them?" "I want to tell them we come in peace," Kate said. "Maybe if they understand we're not a threat, they'll be willing to talk to us." "Do it," Jake decided. "But be very careful with your words. We don't want to make them more afraid than they already are." Kate spent hours crafting a simple message in the Veltar language. She explained that the humans were explorers who wanted to learn about other forms of life. She promised they had no intention of causing harm to anyone. The response came faster than anyone expected. A single Veltar scientist named HFY agreed to communicate with the humans, but only through encoded messages that other Veltar couldn't intercept.
"Why are you willing to talk to us when the others won't?" Kate asked in her first message to HFY. "Because I am old and have studied the ancient records," HFY replied. "I believe your species needs to understand the danger you are creating."
"Even if my people think it is too late to stop what is coming," Jake felt his stomach tighten. "What danger? What are we creating?" HFY's next message made everyone on the bridge fall silent. "Your presence in space is awakening something that has been sleeping for millions of years, something that nearly destroyed all life in the galaxy once before. We call them the Devourers." Dr. Lisa Carter asked the next question. "What are the Devourers?" "They are beings of pure hunger," HFY explained. "They do not eat food or drink water like normal life forms. They consume consciousness itself. They feed on the thoughts and souls of living beings." Alex Porter looked sick. "How is that possible?" "The Devourers exist partly in normal space and partly in the realm of thought and dream," HFY continued. "Long ago they swept across the galaxy like a plague. Entire species were consumed, leaving behind only empty husks. The survivors had to unite to fight them." "What happened to them?" Jake asked. "After a war that lasted for thousands of years, the surviving species managed to force the Devourers into a deep sleep beyond the edge of the galaxy. They created special energy barriers to keep the Devourers unconscious. For millions of years, the galaxy has been safe." Maria Rodriguez felt scared. "What does this have to do with humans?" HFY's answer chilled them all. "Humans have a unique type of consciousness that creates strong vibrations in the realm of thought. When humans travel through space, these vibrations spread out like ripples in water. The more humans that enter space, the stronger the vibrations become." "And these vibrations can wake up the Devourers?" Lisa asked. "Yes," HFY confirmed. "For the past 3 years, we have been monitoring the psychic disturbances caused by human space travel. The vibrations are growing stronger. Our scientists calculate that if humans continue expanding into space at their current rate, the Devourers will begin to awaken within the next few years." The crew of the Horizon sat in stunned silence. Everything they thought they knew about their mission had changed. They weren't just exploring empty space, they were accidentally sending out signals that could doom the entire galaxy. "Why didn't anyone try to warn us?" Jake asked. "Many species wanted to," HFY replied. "But making contact with humans would require us to come out of hiding. That would create even more psychic disturbance. We hoped that humans would limit their space exploration on their own, but your species seems determined to spread across the galaxy. Ben Parker looked at his sensor readings. Captain, if what HFY is saying is true, then every human ship in space is contributing to this problem. Earth has dozens of ships exploring different parts of the galaxy right now. Kate Sullivan asked HFY another important question. Is there any way to stop the awakening process? The only certain way would be for all humans to return to Earth and never travel in space again, HFY answered. But we know your species well enough to understand that will never happen. Humans are natural explorers. Asking you to stay on one planet would be like asking a bird to never fly. Jake felt the weight of an impossible choice. If they returned to Earth to warn humanity, they would have to travel through many star systems, creating more psychic disturbance. But if they stayed silent, humanity would continue expanding into space without knowing the terrible danger they were creating. There might be another way, HFY's final message said. But it would require cooperation between humans and the hidden civilizations. It would be dangerous and many would die. The question is whether your species is brave enough to face the consequences of what you have already set in motion. As Jake looked out at the stars, he realized that humanity's greatest adventure was about to become their greatest test. Captain Jake Morrison knew they needed to learn more about the Devourers before making any decisions. He asked HFY if the crew of the Horizon could visit the hidden Veltar city to see the ancient records for themselves. It is very dangerous, HFY warned. If other Veltar discover that we are helping humans, they will panic. But the situation is so serious that I am willing to take the risk. 3 days later, a small Veltar ship approached the horizon. It was unlike any vessel the humans had ever seen. The ship seemed to bend light around itself, making it almost invisible. Jake, Dr. Lisa Carter, and Lieutenant Kate Sullivan went aboard while Commander Alex Porter stayed behind to watch the main ship. The journey to the planet's surface took only minutes, but it felt much longer. The Veltar ship traveled through underground tunnels that led deep into the planet's core. The hidden city was enormous, stretching for miles in every direction. How long have you been living underground? Lisa asked HFY as they walked through the city streets. My people moved here over 2,000 years ago, HFY explained. We used to live on the planet's surface, but we had to hide when the first warnings about the Devourers came. The Veltar looked similar to humans in some ways, but they were taller and thinner. Their skin had a blue tint and their eyes were much larger. HFY was old even by Veltar standards, and he moved slowly as he led them through the city. The records we need to see are kept in our most secure archive, HFY said. Only a few Veltar are allowed to read them. The knowledge is considered too dangerous for most people to know. They entered a building that looked like a library, but the walls were covered with glowing symbols instead of books. HFY touched several symbols in a specific pattern, and a section of the wall opened up to reveal a hidden room. Inside the room were thousands of crystal storage devices. Each crystal contained millions of years of galactic history. HFY selected several crystals and placed them into a reading machine. These records come from the eldest ones, HFY explained. They were the first species to achieve space travel in our galaxy. They witnessed the first Devourer attack and helped organize the Great War against them. The crystal reader projected images into the air above them. Jake, Lisa, and Kate watched in amazement as the history of the galaxy unfolded before their eyes. The images showed beautiful civilizations that had existed millions of years ago. Great cities floated in space, connected by bridges of light. Beings of many different species worked together in peace and harmony. The galaxy was a very different place before the Devourers came, HFY said sadly. There were thousands of species living together. Trade and knowledge flowed freely between the stars. It was a golden age that lasted for millions of years. Then the images changed. Dark shapes appeared at the edge of the galaxy, moving between the stars like shadows. At first, they were small and few in number, but they grew larger and more numerous as they fed. The Devourers appeared without warning, HFY continued. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. They simply began consuming entire populations. Lisa watched in horror as the images showed what happened when the Devourers attacked a planet. The dark shapes would surround a world, and then all life on that planet would simply stop. The beings didn't die in the normal sense. They became empty shells, still alive but with no thoughts or personality left inside them. They feed on consciousness itself, HFY explained. When they consume a being's mind, the body continues to function, but the person inside is gone forever. The Devourers grow stronger with each mind they consume. Kate asked the question they were all thinking. How were they stopped? The crystal. Reader showed images of a great war that lasted for thousands of years. Hundreds of species united to fight the Devourers. Massive battles took place among the stars, with weapons that could destroy entire solar systems. The war was terrible, HFY said. Entire species sacrificed themselves to buy time for others to escape. Billions died fighting an enemy that seemed impossible to defeat. Jake studied the battle images carefully. The Devourers can be killed. They can be hurt and driven back, but they are very difficult to destroy completely, HFY replied. They exist partly in normal space and partly in the realm of consciousness. Normal weapons can damage their physical forms, but their minds exist in a place where normal matter cannot reach. The images showed how the surviving species finally found a way to defeat the Devourers. They couldn't destroy them completely, but they discovered a way to force them into a deep sleep. The solution required the combined knowledge of every surviving civilization, HFY explained. They built massive machines that could create barriers in the realm of consciousness itself. These barriers forced the Devourers to enter a state similar to hibernation. Lisa looked at the images of the barrier machines. They were enormous structures, each one the size of a small moon. Where did they put these machines? At the very edge of the galaxy, HFY answered. The Devourers were pushed back to the empty space between galaxies and forced to sleep there. The barrier machines have been maintaining their slumber for millions of years. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. And now humanity's presence in space is interfering with these barriers? Yes, HFY confirmed. Human consciousness creates a specific type of psychic resonance that interferes with the barrier frequency. The more humans that travel through space, the weaker the barriers become. The crystal reader showed more recent data. Charts and graphs displayed the gradual weakening of the ancient barriers over the past 3 years. The pattern matched exactly with humanity's expansion into space. How much time do we have? Jake asked. HFY manipulated the crystal reader to show predictions for the future. If human space travel continues at its current rate, our scientists calculate that the barriers will fail completely within 2 years. Maybe less. Lisa studied the data carefully. What happens when the barriers fail? The Devourers will wake up, HFY said simply. They will remember their hunger and return to finish what they started millions of years ago. But this time, they will be even stronger because they have been storing energy during their long sleep. The implications were staggering. Jake realized that humanity had unknowingly become the greatest threat the galaxy had ever faced. Every human ship in space was contributing to the awakening of an ancient enemy that could consume all life in the galaxy. Why didn't the hidden civilizations try harder to warn us? Jake asked. Many wanted to, HFY replied. But making contact with humanity would have required revealing our locations and activities. That would have created even more psychic disturbance, making the situation worse. We hoped your species would naturally limit its space exploration, but humans seem driven to explore every corner of the galaxy. Kate looked at the ancient records with growing understanding. There's something else, isn't there? Something about why human consciousness affects the barrier so strongly. HFY hesitated before answering. The eldest ones left behind one final piece of information. They believed that the species that eventually awakened the Devourers would also be the key to defeating them permanently. Human consciousness is unique in the galaxy. It might be powerful enough to do what millions of years of evolution could not accomplish. What do you mean? Lisa asked. The same psychic resonance that is awakening the Devourers might also be able to destroy them completely, HFY explained. but it would require humans to willingly enter the realm of consciousness where the Devourers live. It would be incredibly dangerous, and many humans would die in the attempt. Jake felt the weight of the galaxy's fate settling on his shoulders. Humanity had accidentally triggered the return of an ancient enemy, but they might also be the only hope for defeating that enemy once and for all. The question was whether the human race would be brave enough to face the consequences of what they had set in motion. Captain Jake Morrison and his crew returned to the horizon with their minds full of terrible knowledge. They now understood the danger humanity had accidentally created, but they still didn't know what to do about it. "We have to warn Earth," Commander Alex Porter said as soon as they were back on the ship. "Every human ship in space needs to know what's happening." Dr. Lisa Carter shook her head. "If we send a message to Earth, it will have to pass through dozens of communication relays. That will create even more psychic disturbance and make the problem worse." Lieutenant Kate Sullivan looked worried. "And if we travel back to Earth ourselves, we'll pass through many star systems. Each jump through space will bring the Devourers closer to waking up." Jake felt trapped by an impossible choice. Warning humanity might accelerate the very disaster they were trying to prevent, but staying silent would leave Earth defenseless against an enemy they didn't know existed. Engineer Ben Parker was studying the sensor readings when he suddenly looked alarmed. "Captain, you need to see this. I'm detecting strange energy patterns at the edge of our sensor range." Jake hurried over to look at Ben's screen. The display showed massive disturbances in space itself, far beyond the outer edge of the galaxy. The energy readings were unlike anything they had seen before. "What could cause patterns like that?" Jake asked. Lisa checked the data against the information they had learned from HFY. Her face went pale. "Captain, I think the Devourers are starting to wake up. These energy patterns match the descriptions from the ancient records." Maria Rodriguez was frantically working at her communication station. "I'm picking up emergency signals from hidden civilizations all across this part of the galaxy. They're all detecting the same energy disturbances we are." Kate translated the alien messages as quickly as she could. "The Veltar aren't the only ones who are scared. Species we've never heard of are coming out of hiding to share information. They're all saying the same thing. The ancient barriers are failing faster than anyone expected." HFY contacted the horizon with an urgent message. "Human friends, our worst fears are becoming reality. The barrier machines at the galaxy's edge are shutting down one by one. We calculate that you have weeks, not months, before the Devourers fully awaken." Jake felt his heart sink. "Is there anything we can do to slow down the process?" "The damage is already done," HFY replied. 3 years of human psychic resonance has created cracks in the barrier system that cannot be repaired, but there might still be hope if we can prepare for what is coming." Ben Parker had been analyzing the ancient technology records that HFY had shared with them. "Captain, I've been studying the weapon systems that were used in the original war against the Devourers. Most of the battle stations were destroyed, but some might still exist." "What kind of weapons?" Alex asked. "Devices that could attack the Devourers in both normal space and the realm of consciousness," Ben explained. "The ancient species built them to fight an enemy that exists in 2 different realities at the same time." Lisa looked at the technical specifications. "These weapons are incredibly advanced. They use principles of physics that we barely understand, but if they still exist, they might be our only chance." Kate received another message from HFY. "The hidden civilizations are sharing the locations of ancient weapon platforms. Many were hidden throughout the galaxy as a last line of defense, but they were shut down millions of years ago, and no one remembers how to activate them." Jake made a decision that would change everything. "We're going to find these weapon platforms and try to get them working again. It's better than sitting here waiting for the end." Over the next few days, the Horizon traveled to the location of the nearest ancient weapon platform. What they found was both amazing and terrifying. The platform was a massive structure built into an asteroid, larger than any city on Earth. "The technology here is incredible," Ben said as he studied the alien machinery, "but it's been dormant for so long that most of the systems have shut down completely. Lisa was examining strange crystals that seemed to be the platform's power source. These crystals contain more energy than our entire ship, but I can't figure out how to activate them safely. Suddenly, Maria picked up a communication signal from deep space. The message was weak and distorted, but it was clearly artificial. "Captain, this signal is coming from the direction of the galactic edge. I think it's from the Devourers themselves." Jake felt cold fear wash over him. "Can you translate it?" "It's not language as we understand it," Maria replied. "It's pure thought patterns being broadcast directly into space. The computer is trying to convert it into words we can understand." The translated message appeared on the main screen, and everyone fell silent as they read it. "We hunger, we wake, we remember the taste of consciousness. Soon we will feed again." Kate tried to contact HFY, but the response was delayed and filled with static. When it finally came through, the Veltar scientists sounded desperate. "The first Devourer scouts have crossed the galactic barrier. They are small and weak from their long sleep, but they are testing our defenses. The main fleet will follow soon." Alex checked the ship's long-range sensors. "I'm detecting movement at the galaxy's edge. Multiple contacts, moving toward inhabited systems." The reality of their situation hit the crew like a physical blow. The ancient enemy was no longer sleeping. The Devourers were awake and beginning their return to the galaxy that had once defeated them. "How long before they reach the inner systems?" Jake asked. Ben calculated the distances and speeds involved. "If they maintain their current pace, the first Devourer ships will reach civilized space within 6 months, but they'll probably speed up as they get closer to sources of consciousness." Lisa was studying the sensor data when she made a disturbing discovery. "Captain, the Devourer scouts seem to be heading directly toward areas with the highest concentration of psychic activity. They're being drawn to the strongest sources of consciousness." "That means they'll target Earth," Kate realized. "Humanity produces more psychic resonance than any other species in the galaxy." Jake felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. Not only had humanity accidentally awakened the Devourers, but their homeworld would be one of the first targets. When the ancient enemy returned, HFY sent another urgent message. "We are sharing the activation codes for the ancient weapons with all hidden civilizations. But many of the weapon platforms require specific types of consciousness to operate them. Some were designed to be controlled by species that no longer exist." "What about humans?" Jake asked. "Can our consciousness operate any of these weapons?" There was a long pause before HFY replied. "Human consciousness is unique in the galaxy. It might be compatible with weapon systems that no other living species can use. But the process of connecting human minds to ancient technology is extremely dangerous. Many who attempt it do not survive." Ben had been working on the weapon platform's control systems while the others talked. Suddenly, several crystals began to glow with soft light. "Captain, I think I've found something. There's a control interface here that seems to be responding to my presence." Jake walked over to examine what Ben had discovered. The interface was a strange combination of crystal formations and metal surfaces. When Ben placed his hand on it, symbols appeared in the air above the platform. "The symbols are changing based on my thoughts," Ben said with amazement. "It's like the machine is reading my mind." Lisa monitored Ben's vital signs as he experimented with the interface. "His brain activity is increasing dramatically. The machine is definitely connecting with his consciousness somehow." Suddenly, the entire weapon platform began to come alive. Lights appeared throughout the structure, and machinery that had been silent for millions of years began to hum with power. "You did it, Ben," Alex said with excitement. "The weapon platform is activating." But their celebration was short-lived. Maria's communication equipment picked up a new signal from the galactic edge. This time the message was much stronger and clearer. "We sense the awakening of the ancient weapons," the Devourer broadcast said. "But we are no longer the weak beings you defeated long ago. We have grown strong during our sleep. Your weapons will not stop us this time. We come for the minds that dared to wake us from our rest." Captain Jake Morrison stared at the ancient weapon platform that Engineer Ben Parker had successfully activated. The massive structure was now fully powered, but they still didn't know how to use it effectively against the Devourers. The weapon is online, but I need more people to help control it, Ben said, his face pale from the mental strain of connecting with the alien technology. The machine is too complex for one human mind to operate alone. Dr. Lisa Carter stepped forward without hesitation. I'll help. If human consciousness is what's needed to fight the Devourers, then we have to try. Lieutenant Kate Sullivan nodded in agreement. Count me in too. We can't let fear stop us from doing what needs to be done. As the 3 crew members placed their hands on different parts of the control interface, the weapon platform responded dramatically. The entire structure began to reshape itself, flowing like liquid metal to create new configurations. The machine is adapting to our thoughts, Lisa said in amazement. It's reading our minds and changing itself to work better with human consciousness. Commander Alex Porter monitored their vital signs from a safe distance. Your brain activity is off the charts, but you all seem stable. The machine appears to be protecting you from the worst effects of the mental connection. Suddenly, Maria Rodriguez received an urgent communication from HFY. Human friends, the situation has become desperate. Devourer scout ships have entered our outer systems. They are consuming the minds of anyone they encounter. All hidden civilizations are preparing for war. Jake felt time running out. HFY, we've activated one of the ancient weapon platforms. Can you guide other hidden civilizations to the remaining weapons? We are already doing so, HFY replied. But most species cannot operate the weapons effectively. Their consciousness is not compatible with the ancient technology. Only humans seem able to fully control these devices. The implications hit Jake like a thunderbolt. Are you saying that humans are the key to operating all the ancient weapons? Yes, HFY confirmed. The weapon platforms were designed by the eldest ones, who foresaw that one day a species with the right type of consciousness would emerge. They built the weapons to wait for minds like yours. Ben, Lisa, and Kate continued working with the weapon platform, learning how to control its incredible power. The device could fire energy beams that existed in both normal space and the realm of consciousness simultaneously. I think I understand how this works, Ben said. The weapon doesn't just destroy the Devourer's physical forms. It attacks their minds directly, preventing them from feeding on other consciousness. Alex received reports from Maria about battles taking place throughout the galaxy. Captain, the hidden civilizations are fighting back, but they're losing. The Devourers are too strong, and conventional weapons barely hurt them. Jake made the most important decision of his life. Send a message to every human ship in the galaxy. Tell them to find the nearest ancient weapon platform and help activate it. Humanity is going to war. Over the next few weeks, human crews across the galaxy received Jake's message and responded. Captain Danny Wilson of the exploration ship UES Discovery activated a weapon platform near the Andromeda border. Captain Rachel Lopez of the cargo vessel UES Transport managed to bring online a massive battle station hidden in an asteroid field. Each time humans connected with the ancient weapons, the devices became more powerful and responsive. The technology seemed to grow stronger when operated by human consciousness, as if it had been waiting millions of years for the right species to awaken it. The final battle began when the main Devourer fleet crossed into the galaxy's inhabited regions. These were not the small scout ships that had been probing the defenses. These were massive vessels filled with ancient hunger and rage. They're heading straight for Earth, Maria reported as she tracked the enemy fleet's movements. The Devourers can sense that humanity's homeworld has the strongest concentration of consciousness in the galaxy. Jake knew they had to stop the Devourers before they reached Earth, but the enemy fleet was enormous. Hundreds of dark ships moved between the stars like a plague, consuming entire worlds as they advanced. The human-operated weapon platforms opened fire first. Beams of pure energy lanced across space, striking the Devourer ships with forces that could crack planets. For the first time in millions of years, the ancient enemy was taking real damage. But the Devourers fought back with weapons of their own. They launched attacks directly at the minds of the humans operating the ancient platforms, trying to consume their consciousness from across vast distances. I can feel them trying to get into my head, Kate said through gritted teeth as she maintained her connection to the weapon controls. But the machine is protecting me somehow. Lisa realized what was happening. The ancient technology is designed to shield human consciousness while amplifying our natural psychic abilities. The eldest ones built these weapons specifically to be used against the Devourers. The battle raged across multiple star systems as human-controlled weapon platforms engaged the Devourer fleet. Ships the size of moons exchanged fire with beings of pure hunger and malice. Ben discovered that the weapons became even more effective when multiple humans worked together. Captain, if we can coordinate with the other human crews, we can link all the weapon platforms into a single network. Jake contacted every human ship in the battle. All vessels, synchronize your weapon platforms with ours. We're going to hit them with everything we've got. As the human crews linked their minds through the ancient technology, something incredible happened. The weapon platforms began to resonate with each other, creating a psychic network that spanned the entire galaxy. The combined power of human consciousness, amplified by millions-year-old technology, struck the Devourer fleet like a hammer blow. The dark ships reeled under the assault, their ability to feed on consciousness disrupted by the focused will of humanity. But the Devourers had one final trick. Their flagship, a massive creature that was part ship and part living nightmare, began to broadcast a signal that attacked human minds directly. "It's trying to turn our own psychic abilities against us," Lisa warned as the crew fought to maintain their connection to the weapon platform. Jake felt the Devourer's mental attack pressing against his thoughts, trying to consume his consciousness. But instead of fear, he felt anger. Anger at the ancient enemy that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years. Anger at the creatures that forced entire civilizations to hide in the darkness. "No," Jake said firmly, pushing back against the mental assault. "We won't be your next meal." The other human crews across the galaxy felt Jake's defiance and added their own strength to his. The psychic network that connected all the weapon platforms suddenly blazed with the combined will of humanity refusing to be consumed. The Devourer flagship convulsed as the unified human consciousness struck back at its core. For the first time in its existence, the ancient creature felt fear instead of hunger. "Impossible," the Devourer's thoughts echoed across space. "No species has ever resisted us so completely." Ben channeled the full power of the weapon network through his connection to the ancient technology. "That's because you never faced humans before." The final blow came not from the weapon platforms, but from human consciousness itself. The psychic resonance that had accidentally awakened the Devourers now became the force that destroyed them permanently. The enemy fleet simply ceased to exist, not destroyed in normal space, but erased from the realm of consciousness, where they had lived for millions of years. In the aftermath of the battle, hidden civilizations across the galaxy emerged from their refugees for the first time in millennia. The Veltar, the Zephyrians, the Kethmari, and dozens of other species came out of hiding to greet their human saviors. "You have done what we thought impossible," HFY told Jake when they met again. "You have not just defeated the Devourers, but eliminated them completely from existence." Jake looked out at the stars, where ships from many different species were now traveling freely for the first time in millions of years. "We couldn't have done it without the weapons your ancestors left behind. The eldest ones knew this day would come," HFY replied. "They built those weapons for humanity, even though your species did not yet exist when they created them. They foresaw that the galaxy's salvation would come from minds that burned bright enough to drive away any darkness." As the UES Horizon began its journey back toward Earth, Jake reflected on what had happened. Humanity had accidentally triggered the galaxy's greatest crisis, but they had also become its greatest protectors. The silence that had greeted humanity's expansion into space was now replaced by voices welcoming them into a galactic community that had waited eons for their arrival. The ancient enemy was gone forever, and the galaxy was finally free to grow and flourish without fear. And at the center of it all were the humans, no longer alone in the universe, but surrounded by friends who understood that sometimes the greatest dangers could become the greatest strengths.